The great council chamber on Nexus Prime stretched out like a vast cathedral of metal and crystal. 12 different species sat in their designated areas, each section designed for their unique needs. The crystalline Kethmari floated in tanks of glowing liquid. The gaseous Vorthok swirled in contained atmospheric spheres. The reptilian Zephyrians sat on heated stone platforms that kept their cold blood warm. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked across the polished floor toward the center podium. Her simple black diplomatic uniform looked plain compared to the elaborate costumes and natural forms around her. She carried a small data pad and nothing else. No guards, no advisors, no weapons. Just herself and whatever message Earth had sent her to deliver. The Zephyrian Supreme Chancellor Vextar rose from his heated throne. His scales shifted from deep green to bright red, showing his excitement. "Human representative," he said, his voice echoing through translation devices. "You stand before the Galactic Council to receive judgment on your species' actions." Sarah stopped at the center podium and placed her hands on its surface. The action activated holographic displays that showed star maps, population counts, and military assessments. All the data pointed to one conclusion that the Council had already reached. "Humans have expanded too quickly," announced Dr. Kethvam, the lead scientist from the crystal species. Her voice rang like bells through her liquid medium. "In only 300 years, you have claimed 47 systems. You build colonies faster than any species in recorded history. Your military grows stronger each year," added Admiral Zeknal of the hegemony of Scar. His forearms gestured at display screens showing human warships. "Your technology advances at rates that concern us all." The Vorthak representative's gaseous form swirled faster, indicating agitation. "Most troubling is your unpredictability. Other species expand in patterns we understand. You humans appear in places we never expect." Sarah listened without speaking. Her face showed no emotion as each council member listed humanity's supposed crimes. She did not argue or defend. She simply stood there and absorbed every word. Supreme Chancellor Vextar's scales shifted to deep purple, the color of official business. "The Galactic Council has debated this matter for 6 months. We have reviewed all evidence. We have considered all options." He paused and looked directly at Sarah. "Today we announce Resolution 47 Delta, the Human Containment and Technological Limitation Protocol." Holographic documents appeared in the air around Sarah. The resolution was written in 12 different languages and communication methods. The terms were clear and harsh. Humanity will surrender all faster-than-light vessels to Council custody within 72 standard hours. Vextar continued. All human colonies beyond the Sol system will accept Council oversight. Human technological development will be monitored and limited to prevent further dangerous advancement. Dr. Kethvam's crystalline form pulsed with satisfaction. "This protocol will ensure galactic stability. Humanity will remain in its home system where it can be properly managed. Think of it as protection," said the Altarian observer, though their tone suggested they disagreed with the decision. "Many species have flourished under Council guidance." Admiral Zeknal's predatory smile showed rows of sharp teeth. "Those who resist Council wisdom rarely prosper. We suggest cooperation." The chamber fell silent as all eyes turned to Sarah. This was the moment they had been waiting for. They expected her to rage against the injustice. They expected her to threaten retaliation. They expected her to beg for mercy or try to negotiate better terms. Sarah did none of these things. She looked up from her data pad and met each representative's gaze in turn. Her voice was calm and steady when she finally spoke. "The United Terran Federation acknowledges receipt of Resolution 847 Delta." That was all she said. "Supreme Chancellor." Vextar's scales flickered with confusion. "Do you understand the terms, human? Your species is being contained to one system. Your expansion ends today. The United Terran Federation acknowledges receipt of Resolution 847 Delta." Sarah repeated in exactly the same tone. Dr. Kethvam's liquid medium bubbled with uncertainty. Perhaps the translation is incorrect? She should be protesting or requesting clarification. Sarah shook her head slowly. "The message is clear. Humanity has 72 hours to comply with all terms stated in the resolution." Admiral Zeknal leaned forward on his platform. "And will humanity comply?" For the first time, Sarah's expression changed slightly. The corners of her mouth moved upward in what might have been a smile. It was not a happy smile. Humanity will respond appropriately to the Council's decision, she said. The phrase sent a chill through several representatives, though they could not say why. There was something in her tone that suggested hidden meaning. Vextar's scales shifted to orange, indicating frustration. We require a direct answer. Will humanity accept the terms of containment? Sarah picked up her datapad and took a step backward. The 72-hour period begins now as stated in the resolution. Humanity will act within the established time frame. She turned and walked toward the chamber exit. Her footsteps echoed in the sudden quiet. Ambassador Chen, called the Vorthak representative. Your species faces a significant change. Do you have no questions? No request for clarification? Sarah paused at the chamber doors but did not turn around. The terms are perfectly clear. Thank you for your time. The doors closed behind her with a soft whisper of sound. In the chamber, the council members looked at each other with growing unease. They had expected drama. They had prepared for threats, bargaining, or desperate pleas. Sarah's calm acceptance felt wrong somehow. Perhaps humans are simply more reasonable than we believed, suggested Dr. Keithbaum, but her voice lacked conviction. Supreme Chancellor Vextar's scales had shifted to gray, the color of uncertainty. Monitor all human transmissions. I want to know what they are planning. Admiral Zekanal grinned, though it looked forced. What can they plan? In 72 hours, they will be trapped in one system with no way to resist. But as the council members departed to their various ships and quarters, each carried the same uncomfortable feeling. Sarah Chen had been too calm, too accepting, too prepared for this moment. None of them realized that humanity had been preparing for this day for over 100 years. The 72-hour countdown had begun. 48 hours after Ambassador Sarah Chen left the council chamber, something impossible happened. The humans went completely silent. Communications Officer Velthar of the Zephyrian Monitoring Station first noticed the change. She had been tracking human radio chatter for 3 years as part of her duties. Human space was always busy with messages. Trade ships called out arrival times. Colonies sent status reports. Military vessels exchanged patrol information. The constant flow of human communications was like background music to her daily work. Then it stopped. Senior Monitor Kexval, she called across the station. I'm getting no signals from human space. Her superior's scales shifted to yellow with concern. Equipment malfunction? No, sir. All our systems are working perfectly. It's like someone turned off every human transmitter at the same time. Kexval slithered over to her workstation and studied the displays. Empty frequency bands stretched across his screens where human signals should have been active. Check long-range sensors. What do the deep space monitors show? Velthar's claws clicked across her control panel. This is strange, sir. I'm detecting human ships in neutral space, but they're not responding to any communications. Show me. The main display screen lit up with a tactical map of the local sector. Green dots marked friendly vessels. Red dots showed potential threats. Yellow dots indicated unknown contacts. Throughout the display, blue dots marked human ships. As they watched, the blue dots began to disappear. Not destroyed, not damaged, simply gone from the sensors. Are they jumping to hyperspace? Kexval asked. No, sir. Hyperspace jumps leave energy signatures. These ships are just vanishing. Across the galaxy, other monitoring stations reported the same phenomenon. Human vessels that had been traveling normal trade routes suddenly dropped off all sensors. Ships that had been docked at neutral stations departed without warning and vanished into empty space. On the crystal world of Keth Prime, Dr. Vexen studied the reports with growing confusion. Her species had the most advanced sensor technology in the known galaxy. If human ships were disappearing from Keth Mari sensors, something very unusual was happening. Expand the search pattern, she ordered her research team. Include all systems with human colonies. The results made no sense. One by one, human colonies were going dark. Not from attack or disaster, but from complete communication shutdown. Long-range scans showed the colonies were still there, but they sent no signals and responded to no calls. Dr. Vexen activated her personal communicator and contacted the Council Emergency Network. This is Dr. Vexen on Keth Prime. We have a developing situation with the Human Containment Protocol. Supreme Chancellor Vexitar responded within minutes. Report, Doctor. The humans have gone completely silent. No communications, no responses to contact attempts, and their ships are disappearing from our sensors. Disappearing how? We don't know. They're not being destroyed. They're just leaving sensor range in ways our equipment cannot track. There was a long pause. Could this be some kind of human technology we haven't seen before? Dr. Vexen had been wondering the same thing. It's possible, Chancellor. But if so, it's far more advanced than anything in our records. Admiral Zeknal of the Scar Hegemony had been listening to the communications. Perhaps they're retreating in panic, running deeper into their own space to make a final stand. Then why can't we track their movements? Dr. Vexen asked. Our sensors can follow ships across 3 sectors. Human vessels shouldn't be able to simply vanish. Vextar made a decision. Admiral Zeknal, take a reconnaissance fleet to the nearest human system. I want to know what they're planning. With pleasure, Chancellor. 3 days later, Admiral Zeknal's fleet arrived at Kepler 442, a system with 3 human colonies. His ships dropped out of hyperspace expecting to find defensive preparations or evacuation efforts. Instead, they found nothing. The colonies were gone, not destroyed, gone. The planets showed no signs of bombardment or battle. There were no ruins, no debris fields, no evidence of hasty evacuation. The human settlements had been completely dismantled and removed. Sir, reported his sensor operator, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the outer system. Show me. The tactical display highlighted several objects in the asteroid belt. Admiral Zeknal's 4 eyes studied the readings carefully. Those are mining platforms, he said, but they've been modified. Modified how, sir? Before he could answer, the modified mining platforms activated. Brilliant energy beams lanced across space toward his fleet. The weapons were far more powerful than anything mining equipment should have been able to generate. Evasive action, Zeknal roared. His ship scattered as the asteroid belt came alive with defensive fire. What had looked like abandoned mining equipment revealed itself as a sophisticated weapon system. The platforms moved with coordination that suggested advanced artificial intelligence. Sir, we're receiving a message, his communications officer reported. From who? Unknown source. Text only. The message appeared on his command screen in simple galactic standard. This system is no longer available for occupation. Recommend immediate departure. Admiral Zeknal's pride would not allow retreat from human mining equipment, no matter how well armed. Target those platforms. Show the humans what real military power looks like. His warships opened fire with plasma cannons and particle beams. The weapons found their targets and several mining platforms exploded in brilliant flashes. But for every platform destroyed, 2 more emerged from hiding places among the asteroids. These new defenders were not mining equipment at all, but purpose-built weapons platforms disguised to look like industrial machinery. Sir, his tactical officer said with growing alarm, these aren't defensive positions. This is a full military installation. More messages appeared on their screens. Final warning. Depart immediately or face escalation. Admiral Zeknal realized he was not facing panicked colonists or hastily converted mining equipment. This was a carefully prepared military response that had been waiting for exactly this situation. Fall back to minimum safe distance, he ordered reluctantly. Maintain observation. As his fleet retreated, Dr. Vexen's voice crackled over the communication system. Admiral, we're detecting similar defensive activations in 17 other former human systems. What do you mean, former human systems? The colonies are all gone, but the defensive networks remain active. It appears the humans evacuated their populations, but left behind military assets we never knew existed. Admiral Zeknal stared at the display showing dozens of weapon platforms that had been disguised as civilian infrastructure. How long have these been here? Unknown. But the level of preparation suggests they've been planning this response for years, possibly decades. Supreme Chancellor Vextar's voice joined the conversation. Doctor, what's your assessment? Dr. Vexen paused before answering. Chancellor, I believe we have seriously underestimated human capabilities. This level of coordination and preparation indicates they saw our containment protocol coming long before we announced it. The uncomfortable truth was beginning to emerge. The humans had not been surprised by the Council's decision. They had been ready for it. 3 months after the human ultimatum expired, the hegemony of Scar made their move. Admiral Zeknal led a massive fleet toward the former human colonies. claiming them by right of superior force as Scar law allowed. The humans have abandoned these systems, he announced to his captains. Their resources now belong to those strong enough to take them. The Scar weren't alone in their thinking. Half the council species had similar plans. The Crystal Kethmari wanted the advanced computer systems humans had left behind. The gaseous Vorthak sought the atmospheric processing plants that could create breathing environments for dozens of species. Supreme Chancellor Vextar had privately encouraged these expansion efforts. Let the humans see what happens when they defy the council, he told his advisors. When other species prosper in their former territories, they'll understand their mistake. Admiral Zeknal's fleet reached the Ross 128 system first. Intelligence reports showed it had been one of humanity's most productive colonies worlds. The planet held cities, farms, factories, and orbital stations that could support millions of Scar citizens. Begin landing operations, he commanded as his ships entered orbit. The first transport ships descended through the atmosphere without incident. Scar ground forces deployed across empty landing platforms and marched through abandoned city streets. Everything seemed to be going according to plan. Then the city came alive. Street cleaning robots that had been dormant since the humans left suddenly activated. But instead of cleaning, they began dismantling landing craft with industrial cutting tools. Maintenance drones emerged from building service tunnels and swarmed Scar soldiers with welding torches and plasma cutters. What's happening down there? Admiral Zeknal demanded from orbit. Sir, the human machines are attacking our forces, his ground commander reported. They're using civilian equipment as weapons. Before Zeknal could respond, proximity alarms screamed throughout his flagship. On the tactical display, he watched dozens of asteroids change course and accelerate toward his fleet. Those aren't asteroids, his sensor operator said with shock. They're cargo haulers. The human freight ships had been disguised to look like space rocks. Now they revealed their true nature, along with the weapons systems that had been hidden inside civilian cargo bays. Particle beams and missile launchers emerged from what should have been storage compartments. Return fire, Zeknal roared. His warships engaged the converted cargo vessels, but found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to follow normal military tactics. The human ships didn't form battle lines or attempt to protect their larger vessels. Instead, they scattered in all directions while maintaining coordinated attacks that suggested advanced battle coordination. More alarming was their apparent willingness to sacrifice themselves. Human cargo ships rammed Scar destroyers, trading their own destruction for massive damage to military vessels. Others activated some kind of overload system that created explosions far larger than their size should have allowed. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're receiving casualty reports from the surface. Ground forces are requesting immediate evacuation. Admiral Zeknal split his attention between the space battle and reports from the planet. His ground forces were being attacked by the entire civilian infrastructure. Traffic control systems had turned streetlights into signal jammers. Water treatment plants were flooding military positions with industrial chemicals. Even children's playground equipment had somehow been weaponized. How is this possible? He demanded. Dr. Vexen's voice answered over the fleet communication system. She had been monitoring the situation from her research vessel. Admiral, I believe every piece of human civilian technology was designed with military backup functions. Their entire society was prepared for exactly this scenario. The battle continued for 6 hours before Admiral Zeknal admitted defeat. Half his fleet had been destroyed or damaged by converted civilian equipment. His ground forces had suffered massive casualties from what should have been harmless city maintenance systems. All units, withdraw from the system, he ordered. But as his surviving ships retreated, the human machines sent a final message that appeared on every Scar communication screen. Thank you for testing our defensive systems. Data has been transmitted to all remaining human forces. The message was signed with a simple identifier. Automated Defense Protocol 847. Similar disasters struck other species attempting to claim human territory. The Vorthak Collective sent atmospheric engineers to convert human air processing plants for their gas-based biology. The engineers found themselves trapped inside facilities that had been booby-trapped with oxygen-nitrogen, mixtures toxic to their species. The Kethmari tried to salvage human computer systems and discovered that every piece of technology was protected by quantum encryption that activated when non-human life forms approached. Attempts to break the encryption triggered self-destruction sequences that destroyed not only the human equipment, but any alien technology connected to it. But the real crisis was only beginning to emerge. Economic analyst Mordith of the Neutral Centaurian Trade Guild was the first to recognize the scope of the problem. She had been studying galactic commerce patterns when she noticed disturbing trends in the data. The humans weren't just another species, she reported to her supervisors. They were integrated into our entire economic system in ways we never realized. Her research revealed that 40% of interstellar shipping used human-designed logistics software. The translation protocols that allowed different species to communicate relied on human linguistic algorithms. Medical treatments for dozens of species were based on research first developed in human laboratories. Trade routes that had operated smoothly for decades began failing as the software that managed them stopped receiving updates from human programmers. Communication between species became more difficult as translation systems degraded without human maintenance. Even basic manufacturing ground to a halt as industrial processes that depended on human innovations stopped working. The Vorthak Collective was hit hardest. Their entire industrial base had been built using human-designed atmospheric processors and environmental controls. With the humans gone and their technology locked behind quantum encryption, Vorthak factories began shutting down one by one. "We need replacement systems immediately," demanded Collective Speaker Nethvas during an emergency council session. "From where?" replied Supreme Chancellor Vextar. "The humans designed most of these systems. No other species has equivalent technology." Dr. Vexen presented her analysis to the assembled council members. "The situation is worse than we initially understood. Humans weren't just participants in galactic commerce. They were essential infrastructure. The holographic displays showed supply chains collapsing across known space. Without human shipping software, cargo deliveries became unreliable. Without human translation protocols, diplomatic communications were breaking down. Without human medical research, several species were facing health crises as their treatments stopped working. "How long can we maintain current operations?" asked Chancellor Vexitar. 6 months, Dr. Vexen replied. "Maybe less if more systems fail." Admiral Zeknal, still recovering from his defeat at Ross 128, made a suggestion that shocked the council. "Perhaps we should reconsider the containment protocol. Contact the humans and negotiate new terms." "Contact them how?" Vextar's scales shifted to dark red with frustration. "They've gone completely silent. We don't even know where they went." The truth was becoming clear. The humans hadn't just left their colonies. They had taken their knowledge, their systems, and their innovations with them. The galaxy was discovering too late how much it had depended on human contributions to function. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the humans were moving toward destinations unknown, carrying with them the keys to technologies the galaxy could no longer live without. 6 months after the humans disappeared, the galactic economy was in complete collapse. Dr. Vexen stood before the emergency council session, her crystalline form dim with exhaustion. The data she presented painted a picture of civilization falling apart. 3 council member species have withdrawn their representatives, she reported. The hegemony of Scar is facing internal civil war as their supply chains failed. The Vorthak Collective's government collapsed last week when their industrial cities went dark. Supreme Chancellor Vextar's scales had turned a permanent shade of gray. What about the other species? Surely some are managing better than others. The Altarian Federation closed their borders 2 months ago. They stated they needed time to reevaluate galactic political structures. The machine intelligences of the Nexus Union have also withdrawn from all council activities. But the economic crisis was just the beginning. Admiral Zeknal, what was left of his forces, brought even worse news to the council. "Chancellor," he said, his forearms trembling slightly, "our deep space monitoring stations are detecting unusual activity in the Outer Rim territories." "What kind of activity?" "Energy signatures consistent with human FTL drives, but far more powerful than anything we've seen before. The readings suggest fleets of massive size moving through sectors we've never explored." Dr. Vexen studied the data on her personal display. "These energy readings are orders of magnitude stronger than recorded human capabilities. Either they've developed new technology or what, Doctor? Or they always had this technology and never showed it to us." The implications were terrifying. If humans possessed advanced FTL drives they had kept hidden, what other secrets had they been keeping? How much of their apparent technological level had been an act? Communications Officer Velthar interrupted the session with an urgent message. Chancellor, we're receiving reports of pirate attacks throughout the former human patrol sectors. This was another disaster the Council hadn't anticipated. For decades, human peacekeeping fleets had quietly maintained order along major trade routes. Pirates and raiders had been kept in check by the constant presence of human ships offering assistance to vessels in distress. With the humans gone, lawlessness was spreading across space like a plague. The Orion Syndicate has seized control of the Betelgeuse shipping lanes. Velthar continued. The Crimson Fleet is demanding tribute from all ships passing through the Vega system. Without human patrol vessels, we have no way to stop them. Admiral Zeknal's remaining forces were too damaged and demoralized to serve as effective peacekeepers. The other Council species had their own problems to deal with. Trade that had flowed safely for generations now required armed escort or paid tribute to criminal organizations. But the worst news came from Dr. Vexen's research team. They had been analyzing human facilities that had been abandoned intact, looking for clues about where the humans had gone and how they might be contacted. Chancellor, Dr. Vexen said quietly, we've made a disturbing discovery about human activities before their departure. Continue. Doctor, we found evidence that humans had been constructing secret facilities throughout the galaxy for over 100 years. Deep space monitoring stations, supply depots, and communication relays hidden in systems we thought were empty. The holographic display showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy with hundreds of red dots marking hidden human installations. The scope was staggering. They've been preparing for this scenario for a century? Vextar asked in disbelief. It appears so, but there's something else. These installations weren't just supply depots. They were sensor networks monitoring deep space approaches to our galaxy. Monitoring for what? Dr. Vexen paused, her crystalline form flickering with uncertainty. We don't know. The data files were encrypted and self-destructed when we tried to access them, but the sensor arrays were all pointed toward intergalactic space, watching for something coming from outside our galaxy. Admiral Zeknal felt a cold chill run through his scales. Are you suggesting the humans were watching for some external threat? The evidence points in that direction. Moreover, several of these installations show signs of recent combat damage, not from our forces or any known species, but from weapons that use completely unfamiliar energy signatures. The Council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Had the humans been fighting some unknown enemy while maintaining their normal diplomatic and trade relationships? Were they protecting the galaxy from threats the Council never knew existed? There's more, Dr. Vexen continued reluctantly. We've detected similar combat damage at the sites of conflicts we attributed to pirates or territorial disputes. When we re-examine the evidence, it appears some of these incidents involved unknown hostile forces, not the criminal organizations we assumed were responsible. Supreme Chancellor Vextar's scales shifted through several colors before settling on deep purple, indicating serious concern. Doctor, are you suggesting that humans were engaged in secret warfare to protect galactic civilization? I'm suggesting that possibility, yes. And if that's true, then our containment protocol may have eliminated the only force standing between us and whatever they were fighting. As if summoned by her words, every communication system in the Council chamber began receiving the same message simultaneously. The transmission came from deep space, far beyond any known colony or station. The message was not in any galactic language. It was pure mathematical concepts transmitted directly into their translation systems. The meaning was clear despite the alien nature of the communication. Primary defensive barrier has been removed. Harvest operations will commence in 847 standard time units. Resistance is not advised. Dr. Vexen's analysis equipment immediately began working to trace the transmission source. The results appeared on her screen within minutes. The signal originated from outside our galaxy, she reported with growing horror. Distance approximately 200,000 light-years and closing. Closing? Admiral Zeknal asked. Whatever sent this message is moving toward our galaxy at speeds that should be impossible. Supreme Chancellor Vextar stared at the tactical display showing a massive object approaching from intergalactic space. How long do we have? 847 standard time units, Dr. Vexen said quietly. Approximately 2 years. The Council members looked at each other with dawning comprehension. The humans had not been expanding aggressively or developing dangerous technology. They had been preparing to defend the galaxy against something that was now only 2 years away. And in their arrogance, the Council had banished the only species that knew how to fight it. Outside the chamber windows, the stars looked different now. Less like distant lights in the darkness and more like targets waiting to be consumed by whatever was coming from the void between galaxies. The price of their arrogance was becoming clear, but the lesson was coming far too late to matter. 1 year after Resolution 847 Delta destroyed human civilization as they knew it, the Galactic Council faced its darkest hour. The emergency session convened in a chamber that now held only 7 species instead of the original 13. The others had withdrawn as their governments collapsed or their territories fell to chaos. Dr. Vexen presented her final report to the remaining council members. Her crystalline form had grown noticeably dimmer over the past months, a sign of severe stress among her species. The economic collapse is now complete, she began. Without human logistics systems, interstellar trade has fallen to 12% of previous levels. Without human medical research, we're facing health crises across multiple species. Without human peacekeeping forces, 47 star systems are now controlled by criminal organizations. Supreme Chancellor Vextar barely resembled the proud leader who had announced humanity's containment a year ago. His scales had faded to a dull brown color that indicated defeat and despair. "What about the approaching threat?" he asked weakly. "The entity from intergalactic space will arrive in approximately 1 year. Our deep space monitors show it has already consumed 3 small galaxy clusters in our local group. Each consumption event releases energy signatures that suggest complete matter conversion." Admiral Zeknal, now commanding what remained of several species' military forces, studied the tactical displays with growing hopelessness. "Do we have any defensive capabilities against this threat?" "None," Dr. Vexen replied simply. "Our combined military forces are designed for warfare against opponents using similar technology and tactics. This entity operates on principles we don't understand." The chamber's communication system activated with an incoming message. Communications Officer Velthar, one of the few technicians still maintaining the Council's basic operations, announced the source. "The message is from the Outer Rim territories," she reported. "Unknown origin, but the encryption patterns are consistent with human communication protocols." Every remaining Council member focused their attention on the main display screen. After a year of complete silence from humanity, any communication was significant. The message was brief and transmitted in simple galactic standard. Council Observation Post designated Nexus Prime. "This is Captain Martinez of the Terran Deep Survey Fleet. We are transmitting humanitarian supply coordinates to assist with civilian evacuation from threatened systems." Message ends. Dr. Vexen immediately began analyzing the transmission data. The signal originated from a position 47 light-years beyond our furthest exploration. The energy signature indicates a vessel far larger than anything in our records of human capabilities. "They're offering to help evacuate civilians?" asked the Altarian representative, who had returned for this emergency session. Before anyone could respond, new data began appearing on their screens. Star charts showing safe passage routes away from the galactic core. Supply depot locations with medical aid and provisions for refugees. Most importantly, coordinates for habitable worlds far beyond the approaching threat's current trajectory. "How many worlds?" Chancellor Vexitar asked quietly. Dr. Vexen studied the data streams flowing across her displays. 47 garden worlds, all located in systems we never knew existed. Each one prepared to support multiple species with appropriate atmospheric and environmental controls. The scope of human preparation was staggering. They had not only been ready for their own exile from Council space, but had prepared refuge for the entire galactic population. "There's more," Dr. Vexen continued. "The data includes specifications for emergency evacuation vessels. The designs use simplified technology that our remaining industrial base can actually manufacture." Admiral Zeknal reviewed the ship designs with amazement. "These are basic but effective. No advanced human technology that we can't replicate. They've designed evacuation ships that any of our species can build and operate." Another transmission arrived from the human fleet. This time the message was longer and more detailed. "To the surviving members of the Galactic Council, humanity has established secure territories beyond the threat's operational range. We offer sanctuary to all civilian populations regardless of species or previous political affiliation. Military cooperation against the approaching entity is welcome, but not required for refugee assistance. Detailed evacuation protocols and supply schedules are attached to this transmission. The message was signed Admiral Sarah Chen, Terran Deep Survey Fleet. Dr. Vexen's analysis revealed the true scope of human capabilities. The fleet transmitting these messages consists of at least 2,000 vessels, many of them larger than anything we've ever built. They've been constructing this evacuation capability for decades. While we were debating their containment, Chancellor Vextar said bitterly, they were preparing to save us. All. The final piece of information came from the deepest analysis of human communication logs. Dr. Vexen had spent months breaking through layers of encryption to understand humanity's true activities during their time in council space. Chancellor, she said quietly, I've discovered why the humans never revealed their true capabilities. Tell us, Doctor. They were following a policy they called protective concealment. By appearing less advanced than they actually were, they avoided triggering competitive responses from other species. They wanted us to develop naturally without feeling threatened by human capabilities. The holographic displays showed classified human documents dating back 3 centuries. Policy papers discussing how to integrate with galactic civilization without causing fear or resentment. Military strategies focused on defense rather than conquest. Scientific research shared freely while keeping the most advanced discoveries secret to prevent arms races. They were deliberately holding themselves back. Dr. Vexen continued. Every interaction with council species was carefully managed to appear non-threatening. They could have conquered the galaxy at any time, but chose cooperation instead. Admiral Zeknal reviewed tactical analyses that showed the true extent of human military capabilities. According to this data, they had weapons that could have destroyed our entire fleet before we knew we were under attack. Yet they never used them, even when we forced them into exile. The final transmission from Admiral Chen arrived as the council members absorbed the magnitude of their mistake. The entity you face has consumed 47 galactic civilizations across multiple galaxy clusters. We have been preparing for this encounter for over 200 years. Our analysis suggests this entity feeds on the life force and knowledge of intelligent species. It is attracted to large concentrations of advanced civilizations. Our departure from Council space was intended to draw the entity's attention away from your populated systems toward our prepared defensive positions. This strategy has partially succeeded, but the entity is more powerful than our projections indicated. Evacuation of civilian populations remains the primary objective. Those willing to assist in defensive operations are welcome to join our fleets at the coordinates provided. This may be our final communication. Whatever the outcome, we want you to know that humanity bears no ill will toward the Council or its member species. You made decisions based on the information available to you. We chose not to provide complete information because we believed it was safer for everyone. Both choices led to the current situation. Now we must work together or face extinction separately. Admiral Sarah Chen, commanding the Terran Defense Fleet. See you among the stars. The communication ended, leaving the council chamber in profound silence. Outside the station's windows, the first refugee ships were already beginning their exodus from the galactic core. Human vessels appeared at the edges of populated systems, offering escort and supplies for the long journey to safety. Dr. Vexen made the final entry in her research logs. The humans departed silently, taking with them our protection, our prosperity, and our future. They left behind only the consequences of our own arrogance and the slim hope that we might learn from our mistakes before it's too late. In the vast darkness between galaxies, something ancient and hungry continued its approach toward the Milky Way, drawn by the beacon of civilization that had once thrived under humanity's quiet guardianship. The galaxy would learn the difference between being ruled and being protected, but the lesson had come at a price that might prove too high to pay.